Yes. Okay, right. Acrylic mediums. So these we use with acrylic paints. And I'm going to demonstrate 3 different kinds today. So we've got what we call the more liquid medium. So for example, matte medium. We've also got some thicker gels. So we've got a regular gel. I also have something thicker, which is molding paste. And a coarse molding paste or pumice gel. They're all called slightly different things depending on the branding. I also have some special effects ones. So I've got the pouring medium and string gel. And we're going to try all of them today. Because this is just a demo, and when you work practicing, you can use this, which is just the canvas paper that you used last time. When you're creating actual works, you can either work on canvas or canvas board. You can actually use these on paper as well, so it's up to you. Tools today will include paintbrushes, palette knives. Also, I like to use barbecue sticks or plastic forks, and the palettes. Always useful to have is some paper tissue as well. Okay, all right, let's get started. So we're going to start with the matte medium. So I'm just going to pour a little bit in. The matte medium, or any of the sort of the more fluid mediums, can you see that it looks a little bit like the white PVA glue? And what that does is it extends the paint without diluting the color too much. So you can mix it just with a bit of paint. It's very smooth, nice and smooth. This is good for sort of flat washes. So you're starting a painting and you want to block in the basic areas without too much texture, without too much thickness, then you can use this. And you can see a little goes a very long way, in fact. It basically dilutes the paint. This is a matte one, so the final finish is not shiny. If you use a gloss medium, the finish will be very shiny. So you might use a matte one at the beginning, and then at the end, if you want a high finish, a high shiny finish, then you can use a gloss over the top. And you can use it just by itself as well to create a particular finish. Okay. Okay. Next, regular gel. This is semi-gloss. This also comes in matte and high gloss finishes, depending. Oh no, can't open it. Ooh. Okay, so the texture is significantly different, and for this, I'm going to use a palette knife to actually take it out. Okay, so can you see that that is not at all runny? Okay. With this one, there's 2 ways to use it. You can apply it directly to your canvas and it will hold that shape. So this is great for putting a basic layer of texture down. Once it's dry, you can paint over the top of it. Or you can, a bit like with the other medium, mix it directly into the paint, or mix the paint into it. It thickens up the paint. And then when I apply that, again, it will hold that finish. If it's a high gloss gel, it will dry really nice and shiny, depending on the effect that you want. It's still very smooth though, can you see? So I can scrape it all away, put it back down. So you can actually move the paint around really nicely when you're using mediums. It helps to, yeah, push it around, especially the smooth ones. Okay, it's important to close the lids. They do dry out quite quickly. Okay, next, molding paste. So this has a much more matte appearance. All right, and I've got a couple of different ones. So I have one that is, they call this one is semi-opaque. So it's not massively, it's not clear, it's not really, it's a little bit shiny. Okay, it's a bit like the gel in that you can place it onto the canvas by itself, let it dry, paint over the top. Or mix in the paint. Again, it will hold that finished shape or that finished texture. This one has a coarser texture, so it's a little bit sandy. This is great for creating particularly rough textures and surfaces. And when you apply it, can you hear that? So that's the graininess of it. This is great for doing things like rust or things that are kind of a bit broken, a bit damaged. Okay. I've got one more which is very similar, that's even thicker and even coarser. Can you hear it? So really, really grainy. Are you seeing that this one's actually, it's almost not sticking to the base. So for this one, I'll mix in just a bit of paint. So I wouldn't start with this, just because it's not sticking to the base layer, but I might add it afterwards to add more texture. Play around today, just play around and see the effects that you can get out of it. Okay. Some people don't like it. That's that sound. Kind of sets their teeth on edge a bit. Okay. All right, so we've had the mediums, we've had the thicker gels and even the coarse pastes. Now we're going to go on to the special effects ones. So the first one I want to look at is the pouring medium. And what pouring medium does, it dilutes the paint without losing the color. Because if I want to make my paint really runny, I can just add a bit of water. So if I have some paint, I want to make it runny. Okay, a little bit of water. It's very, very runny. You can actually pour that out. And it's okay, it'll dribble around. Do you see also what's happening, particularly at the edges? It's losing the intensity of the color. This is where the pouring medium comes in. So here, I've got some acrylic paint. Put the pouring medium in. It looks like the other mediums and it looks a little bit like white paint. So mix it up. And see, the more pouring medium you put in, the more runny it will be. but I'm not losing the intensity of the color now. I'm going to mop that up. And I can, so this is quite nice for controlled dribbles, if you like. And it will dry like that with that intense color. Okay. What you can do is, you can mix colors. It's a bit like watercolors, when we did watercolors, bleeding in together. Just mixing in a bit more medium. Now, unlike watercolors that immediately run together, these are not doing that, okay? But I can get them to move around a bit. This is where the barbecue stick comes in quite handy. And you can get some really nice effects like that.
It looks like cafe art.
Yeah, it does, exactly, yes. And you can see now the two colors are beginning to mix a little bit, but they're also kind of repelling each other too. So that's the pouring medium. You might have seen pouring sculptures and things before, where people pour acrylics over an object like a sculpture to get the kind of very fluid effects. Okay, then last one today, string gel. This is a bit like a mixture between the medium, like the matte medium, and the pouring medium. Because when I scoop this out, can you see? So now with this one, you can use it by itself. And it just kind of dribbles down a bit. So not as runny as the pouring medium, but more runny than the regular gels. And it's just got that kind of, it will hold that shape. Okay. Once that's dry, you can actually paint over the top of it and it will resist the paint. So really nice for creating, if you have one layer of color, maybe you want to add another layer, but you want to keep some of that original color, this can be quite a nice way to do it. You can also mix it in with some color. I need a lot more here. Hang on. So I think when you're working with some of these mediums, you need a bit of patience as you kind of coax them off. Okay, so now my gel is colored. Try and get a bit of a scoop, and then okay. Forks are quite nice for creating lots of textures and lines and things. Okay, so that's acrylic mediums.